But you know, he's there, he's in tears, and your instinct isn't to prod him more the cop the way I would do now. Your instinct is, this is my friend and he's suffering, you know, and he's crying, and you want him to be all right. You want to console him. Is the emotional response. It's just your head's telling you otherwise, and you have to follow that. You have to follow what you know to be true, not what you feel to be true. And so we had to be guided by that. But that was difficult, really difficult. Yeah, like I say, yeah, absolutely. You want to, you know, it's this person in front of you suffering, who's your friend, who you love, and they're doing, yeah, and they're in pain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to cuddle them and tell them it's all right. But they have just told you that actually they're not who you think they are. And so once, you know, and it got to the end of the night, once we knew as much as we were going to know, and it was absolutely confirmed that this guy had been a cop and had been fucking us over. And he gave us all these stories about having fed false information to them and stuff, and you know, which obviously untrue and really insulting on our intelligence. In fact, you know, when he left the house that night, if, you know, he had gone and driven off a fucking cliff, fine, for me, fine. You know, for the impact on people he's having relationships with, on his wife and kids, that's why I wouldn't like anything like that to happen to him. But for as far as who he is in himself, fuck him. And that you know, by the end of that night, that's absolutely, you know, the way it was.
I was organising stuff with him directly, particularly. We were friends, we hung out, you know, we went out for beers, we met at parties, and we met at gatherings. Mark didn't ever seem to be really kind of trying to make political arguments in meetings. He was more like, right, I'll do the transport, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then he'd go to the pub. We'd all turn up on the day and we'd just do it, so...
A number of these police officers had close personal relationships. You know, Kennedy was just the most recent of those. And, you know, some of these, as with Kennedy, went on for years. Once a person has a relationship with a cop, that went on for 9 years. Several of them had children with people who then just leave, and they don't know why their partner left and what they did, and they're left holding a baby. You know, it's the most complete invasion of privacy that the state could possibly enact. So I don't feel as much hatred as some do towards Kennedy, and maybe that's an emotional failing on my part, I don't know. But the bit where I really do feel hatred towards what they've done with the undercovers is the movement that I saw there absolutely burgeoning in the second half of the last decade in the UK. That the climate movement was on the brink of achieving something huge, was influencing so many people to come in, influencing people around the world to start getting movements together, influencing changes in government policy. We were seeing this happen very, very quickly, because it's that thing with activism. It doesn't take 3 million people on the streets. It takes a few people getting together, but everyone else goes, I've always thought that idea was right. And it's the license you get from the mass of people who agree with you, actively agree with you, and we had that. And the changes that would have happened had we not been undermined by Kennedy and Watson and friends being in there would have been so much greater. And that, I do feel hatred for those people for that. That is a reason to be really fucking angry.
It does affect the way you view your friends. It can't help but you can't help but look at your friends and say, well, how do I know any of these people aren't cops? What could anyone do to prove themselves to not be a cop?